The crack of Kwame's palm against Ama's cheek echoed through the bustling Makola market in Accra like a gunshot. $2. That's all she had taken from their joint savings to buy groundnuts for her pregnancy cravings. And now she stood there, 6 months pregnant, holding her burning cheek while hundreds of strangers stared in shock. What would you do if you walked in on this? Hit like if you've been betrayed, and comment below where you're watching from. You think you can steal from me, woman? Kwame's voice boomed over the chatter of market vendors. His designer suit looked completely out of place among the colorful Kent cloths and wooden stalls. $2 might not be much to you, but it shows your character. Ama's dark eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let them fall. At 28, she had endured 3 years of marriage to this man, but public humiliation was a new low. The gold jewelry around her neck, gifts from their wedding day, felt heavy against her skin as shame washed over her. "Kwame, please," she whispered, her hand instinctively moving to protect her swollen belly. "The baby. I just needed something to eat. The baby, the baby." He threw his hands up dramatically. "Everything is about this baby. What about what I need? What about my respect?" An elderly woman selling tomatoes nearby clicked her tongue in disapproval. "Young man, that is no way to treat your pregnant wife," she called out in Chui, her voice carrying the authority of age and wisdom. Kwame spun around, his eyes flashing with anger. "Mind your own business, old woman. This is between me and my wife." But the damage was done. Cell phones were already out, recording. Within minutes, the video would be on Instagram, Twitter, and WhatsApp groups across Ghana. Ama could see the judgmental stares, hear the whispered conversations. Her reputation, carefully built as a marketing executive at one of Accra's top advertising agencies, was crumbling in real time. "Get in the car," Kwame hissed, grabbing her arm roughly. Now, as they walked toward his black Toyota Camry, Ama caught sight of something that made her blood freeze. Through the tinted windows of a white sedan parked across the street, she glimpsed a familiar face. Efua, her younger sister. But she wasn't alone. There was a man with her, and they were kissing passionately. The man lifted his head, and Ama's world shattered completely. It was Kwame's best friend, Kofi. Her sister was having an affair with her husband's closest friend, and they had been watching the entire public humiliation unfold like entertainment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. The drive home to their 2-bedroom apartment in East Legon was suffocating. Kwame gripped the steering wheel with white knuckles while Ama stared out the window, her mind racing. The image of Efua and Kofi together replayed in her head like a broken record. How long had this been going on? How many family gatherings had they sat through, pretending to be loyal while carrying on behind everyone's back? "You embarrassed me today," Kwame said finally, breaking the tense silence. "Do you know how that looked? My pregnant wife stealing money like some common thief." $2, Kwame. $2 for food. Ama's voice was barely above a whisper, but her anger was building like pressure in a kettle. "I'm carrying your child, and I can't even buy groundnuts without being treated like a criminal. Our money isn't just for you to spend however you please. We have bills, Ama. Responsibilities. Responsibilities." The word tasted bitter in her mouth. What about his responsibility to treat his pregnant wife with respect? What about his responsibility to choose loyal friends? They pulled into their compound, and Ama noticed Kofi's red Honda Accord was already there. Perfect. She would have to sit through dinner pretending she hadn't seen him kissing her sister just an hour ago. Inside their apartment, the smell of palm nut soup filled the air. Kofi was sitting on their leather sofa, looking completely relaxed, scrolling through his phone. He looked up when they entered, his smile too wide, too bright. "Ah, my people. How was your day?" His voice carried that smooth charm that had always made Ama slightly uncomfortable, though she'd never been able to put her finger on why. "Fine," Kwame replied, his mood instantly improving in his friend's presence. "Just had to deal with some foolishness at the market." Kofi's eyes flickered to Ama, and she saw something there. Was it guilt? Amusement? "Oh, what happened?" as Kwame launched into his version of events, painting himself as the reasonable husband dealing with an unreasonable wife. Amma excused herself to the kitchen. She needed space to think, to process what she'd seen. Her phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Fua. Sister, hope you're okay. Heard what happened at the market. Men can be so difficult sometimes. Let's talk tomorrow. The casual tone, the fake concern, it made Amma's stomach turn. How dare she pretend to care while carrying on with Kofi behind everyone's back? Another message came through, this one from her mother. Amma, your cousin sent me a video. Please call me. The humiliation was spreading through her family network like wildfire. By tomorrow, everyone would know how Kwame had treated her in public. But they wouldn't know the whole truth about what she'd discovered. She heard laughter from the living room and peered around the corner. Kwame and Kofi were watching something on Kofi's phone, probably the video of her public disgrace. They were laughing. Her own husband was laughing at her humiliation with the same man who was cheating with her sister. Amma placed her hand on her belly, feeling the baby kick as if responding to her emotional turmoil. This child deserved better than growing up in a house built on lies and betrayal. She deserved better. But as she stood there, listening to their laughter, a cold realization settled over her. She wasn't just a victim in this story. She was a woman with resources, connections, and intelligence. If they wanted to play games, she could play too. Her phone rang, interrupting her dark thoughts. The caller ID showed her boss's name, Margaret Asante, the CEO of Pinnacle Advertising Agency. Amma, dear, I just saw the most disturbing video. We need to talk. Can you come to the office first thing tomorrow morning? The line went dead, leaving Amma staring at her phone in horror. Her career, her reputation, everything she'd worked for was hanging by a thread. But as she heard Kofi's voice from the living room saying, "Man, I have to tell you something important about." Before his voice dropped too low to hear, Amma knew her problems were just beginning. Don't miss what happens next. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell for more shocking stories. Margaret Asante's corner office on the 15th floor of the Pinnacle Tower offered a stunning view of Accra's skyline. But Amma couldn't focus on anything except her boss's stern expression. At 55, Margaret was a formidable woman who had built Ghana's most successful advertising agency from nothing. She didn't tolerate scandal. Sit down, Amma. Margaret's voice was clipped, professional. But Amma could hear the disappointment underneath. The video was playing on Margaret's laptop, the same humiliating scene from yesterday, but now with over 50,000 views and hundreds of comments. Amma's pregnant belly was clearly visible, her face twisted in shock and pain as Kwame's hand connected with her cheek. This is not the image Pinnacle wants associated with our senior executives, Margaret said, closing the laptop with a sharp click. Our clients are asking questions. The Ashanti Gold account specifically mentioned their concerns about domestic issues affecting workplace performance. Domestic betrayal was about to cost Amma everything she'd worked for. Margaret, please. This doesn't affect my work. I've never brought personal issues. Haven't you? Margaret's eyebrows rose. Your productivity has been down for months. You've been distracted, missing deadlines. Now I understand why. The accusation hit like a slap. Amma had been struggling, but not because of anything she'd done wrong. The stress of Kwame's increasingly controlling behavior, his criticism of every decision she made, his monitoring of their finances, it had all been wearing her down. I need you to take extended maternity leave, Margaret continued. Effective immediately. We'll revisit your position after the baby is born and after you've sorted out your personal situation. Extended maternity leave meant reduced pay. It meant losing her influence, her projects, potentially her career. Amma felt the walls closing in around her. But I'm not due for 3 months. The decision is final. Walking out of the Pinnacle Tower felt like walking into exile. Her phone had been buzzing constantly with messages from colleagues, friends, and family members who'd seen the video. Some offered support, others barely concealed their judgment. She sat in her car in the parking garage, staring at her phone. 23 missed calls from her mother. 15 from various relatives. But nothing from Efua, the sister who was supposed to have her back. A knock on her car window made her jump. It was Akojua, her closest friend from university who worked as a family lawyer downtown. "Girl, I've been calling you all morning," Akojua said as Amma rolled down the window. "We need to talk." They met at a quiet cafe in OSU, away from prying eyes. Akojua's expression was serious as she leaned across the small table. "Amma, I've seen the video. But that's not why I'm here." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Yesterday evening, I was at the Golden Tulip Hotel for a client meeting. I saw Kwame." Amma's heart sank. "Let me guess. He wasn't alone." "He was with a young woman. Very young. They were intimate, holding hands, kissing in the lobby like they had no shame." The world tilted slightly. Her husband was cheating, while she was pregnant with his child. Dealing with his controlling behavior and public humiliation, he was carrying on with another woman. "There's more," Akojua continued gently. "I asked the front desk clerk. I know him from previous cases. Kwame has been renting a room there every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 6 months. Always with the same girl. 6 months. Amma's pregnancy was 6 months along. He'd been cheating on her since the moment they'd conceived their child." "Who is she?" "Young. Maybe 22. The clerk said she's a student at University of Ghana." "Amma, I think she might be pregnant too." The cafe suddenly felt too small, too warm. Amma gripped the edge of the table as her world collapsed completely. Her cheating husband, her sister's betrayal with his best friend, her lost career, and now, possibly another pregnant woman. "I need to see for myself," Amma said quietly. "Amma, no. That's not. It's Tuesday. If he's there today, I'll know for sure." Akojua reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "If you're going to do this, you need to be smart about it. Document everything. Photos, videos, witnesses. If you're going to confront him, make sure you have legal protection." As they left the cafe, Amma's phone rang. It was Kwame. "Where are you? I came home for lunch, and you're not here. Don't tell me you're running around town gossiping about our business." His casual arrogance, the way he spoke to her like she was a child who needed supervision. It all felt different now. She could hear it clearly for what it was. Emotional manipulation designed to control and diminish her. "I'm handling some errands," she said calmly. "I'll be home later. Make sure you are. And Amma, no more drama. I won't tolerate any more embarrassment from you." The line went dead, and Amma stared at her phone with newfound clarity. He wouldn't tolerate embarrassment from her. After everything he'd done, that evening, she would go to the Golden Tulip Hotel. She would get proof of his infidelity. And then she would show him what real embarrassment looked like. But first, she had a stop to make. Her sister Efua worked at a boutique in OSU. It was time for a family conversation. Comment your thoughts on the betrayal. Should Amma confront her sister first or catch her cheating husband? Let us know below. The boutique where Efua worked was tucked between a pharmacy and a phone repair shop on Oxford Street, its windows displaying the latest Accra fashion mixed with imported accessories. Amma had helped her sister get this job 2 years ago, using her connections in Accra's business community. The irony wasn't lost on her now. She pushed through the glass door, the familiar chime announcing her arrival. Efua looked up from arranging jewelry in a display case, her face lighting up with what Amma now recognized as fake enthusiasm. "Sister, what a surprise." Efua rushed over, her arms outstretched for a hug. At 25, she was still the baby of the family, spoiled and protected by everyone. "I was so worried about you after what happened yesterday. Are you okay?" Amma stepped back, avoiding the embrace. "We need to talk. Privately." Something in her tone made Efua's smile falter. She glanced around the small shop. They were alone except for an elderly customer browsing scarves in the back corner. "What's wrong? You look upset." "I saw you yesterday, Efua. In the car with Kofi." The color drained from her sister's face like water from a broken glass. For a moment, neither woman spoke. The elderly customer continued humming softly, oblivious to the family drama unfolding nearby. "I don't know what you think you saw." I saw you kissing Kwame's best friend while my husband was slapping me in public for taking $2 to buy food for my pregnancy. Ama's voice was deadly quiet. I saw you watching my humiliation like it was entertainment. Efua's hands trembled as she reached for the counter to steady herself. Ama, please let me explain. How long? What? How long have you been sleeping with Kofi? The question hung in the air like smoke. Efua's eyes darted toward the door as if calculating her chances of escape, but Ama moved to block her path. 8 months, Efua whispered finally. 8 months. Before Ama's pregnancy. Before her marriage started falling apart. While she'd been hosting family dinners, treating Kofi like a brother, including him in their most intimate celebrations. You were at my baby shower planning committee meetings. You helped choose the decorations. You sat in my house, ate my food, and pretended to care about my marriage while you were sleeping with his best friend. It's not what you think. What I think. Ama's voice rose despite her efforts to stay calm. What I think is that my own sister has been betraying me for 8 months while I've been supporting her, helping her, treating her like family. You don't understand. Efua's composure finally cracked. You have everything, Ama. The successful career, the husband, the big house, the pregnancy everyone's excited about. What do I have? A job in a boutique that you got for me, living in a single room that you helped pay for. Do you know what it feels like to always be the little sister who needs help? The selfishness of it took Ama's breath away. So you decided to destroy my marriage? I didn't mean for it to happen. Kofi and I just connected. He understood me in ways that no one else ever has. He listens to me, respects my opinions. He's using you, Efua. Men like Kofi don't leave their established lives for 25-year-old boutique workers. You're a distraction, not a future. That's not true. But even as she said it, doubt flickered in Efua's eyes. Ama's phone buzzed with a text message. It was from an unknown number. Your husband thinks you don't know about us. He's wrong. Meet me at the Golden Tulip Hotel lobby at 6 p.m. if you want the truth. A friend. Someone else knew about Kwame's affair. Someone wanted to help her expose it. I have to go, Ama said, turning toward the door. Sister, wait. We can work this out. Family is family. Ama stopped and looked back at her sister. Really looked at her. The perfectly styled hair, the expensive jewelry that Ama now realized she probably couldn't afford on her boutique salary. The designer handbag that looked suspiciously like one she'd seen in Kofi's social media posts. Family doesn't betray family, Efua. And you stopped being my sister the moment you decided Kofi was more important than me. The door chime seemed to mock her as she left, its cheerful sound completely at odds with the destruction of her relationship with her only sibling. Back in her car, Ama stared at the mysterious text message. Who could it be? How did they get her number? And what truth were they promising to reveal? Her phone rang, Kwame again. I'm heading to the gym with Kofi, he said, without preamble. Don't wait up. We might grab drinks after. The gym. Right. Ama almost laughed at the obviousness of the lie. Have fun, she said sweetly. Say hello to Kofi for me. There was a brief pause. You sound strange. What's wrong with you? Nothing's wrong, darling. I'm just learning to appreciate the truth. As she hung up and started her car, Ama felt something she hadn't experienced in months. Power. She knew about Efua and Kofi. She knew about Kwame's Tuesday and Thursday hotel visits. And now someone else wanted to share information with her. The Golden Tulip Hotel was only 20 minutes away. But first, she had one more stop to make. If she was going to war, she needed allies. It was time to visit her mother. What do you think this mysterious person knows? Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more drama. Ama's mother, Akojua Mensah, lived in a modest but comfortable house in Dansoman, surrounded by the mango trees her late husband had planted 20 years earlier. At 62, she was a woman who commanded respect in their community, a retired teacher who had raised 4 children and buried a husband with dignity and strength. She was sitting on her front porch, shelling groundnuts, when Ama arrived. The irony of the scene wasn't lost on either woman. So you finally decided to come see your mother, Akojua said without looking up. After the whole of Accra has seen my daughter being disrespected in public. Amma sank into the wooden chair beside her mother, suddenly feeling like a child again. Mama, I'm sorry. I should have called sooner. 23 missed calls, Amma. 23. Now her mother looked at her, and Amma saw the hurt and worry in her eyes. Do you know how it felt to learn about my daughter's troubles from a WhatsApp video? I was ashamed. Ashamed. Akojua set down her bowl of groundnuts and turned to face her daughter fully. You have nothing to be ashamed of. That husband of yours, he's the one who should hang his head in shame. No real man treats his pregnant wife that way. The validation was like cool water on a burn. For the first time since yesterday's humiliation, Amma felt like someone was truly on her side. Mama, there's more. Things I've discovered about Kwame and about Efua. Over the next 30 minutes, Amma told her mother everything. Kwame's cheating, the hotel rendezvous, the possible second pregnancy, Efua's betrayal with Kofi, her job situation, the mysterious text message. Akojua listened in silence, her expression growing darker with each revelation. When Amma finished, her mother stood up and began pacing the small porch. That girl, she muttered. I raised her better than this. I raised all of you better than this. Mama, what should I do? What you should do is remember who you are, Amma Mensa. You are my daughter. You are strong, intelligent, and capable. You don't need any man to define your worth, and you certainly don't need to tolerate disrespect from anyone, including family. Akojua went inside and returned with a small wooden box. She opened it to reveal several pieces of gold jewelry, some of it traditional, some more modern. This belonged to your grandmother, and her mother before that. I was saving it for your daughter, but you need it now. She pressed the box into Amma's hands. This gold has value. Real value. If you need to leave that man, if you need to start over, you won't be doing it empty-handed. Amma's eyes filled with tears. Mama. And there's something else you need to know. Your father, may his soul rest in peace, he didn't trust Kwame from the beginning. Before he died, he made me promise to watch out for you. He said something about that man didn't sit right with him. Why didn't you tell me this before? Would you have listened? You were so in love, so convinced you knew better than your old parents. Akojua's smile was sad but knowing. Sometimes we have to learn lessons the hard way. Amma's phone buzzed, another message from the unknown number. Don't be late. You need to see this. Trust me. I have to go, Mama. Someone wants to meet me about Kwame's cheating. They say they have proof. Be careful, my daughter. When cornered animals feel threatened, they become dangerous. And make sure you're not walking into a trap. As Amma prepared to leave, her mother grabbed her arm. Whatever happens tonight, remember this. You are not just a wife or a sister or an employee. You are a Mensa woman. We don't break. We bend, we adapt, we survive, and then we thrive. Your grandmother survived colonialism. I survived poverty and widowhood. And you will survive this betrayal. The drive to the Golden Tulip Hotel felt like traveling toward her destiny. Amma clutched the box of gold jewelry in her lap, her mother's words echoing in her mind. A Mensa woman doesn't break. The hotel lobby was busy with the usual mix of business travelers and wealthy Ghanaians meeting for evening drinks. Amma found a seat near the bar with a clear view of the entrance and the elevator bank. At exactly 6 p.m., a young woman approached her table. She was beautiful in the way that made men stupid, early 20s, perfectly styled natural hair, designer clothes that were too expensive for a university student's budget. And she was noticeably pregnant, maybe 4 months along. Mrs. Amaose? The girl's voice was soft, almost childlike. Yes. My name is Ajoa. I think we need to talk about your husband. As the girl sat down, Amma noticed her hands were shaking. Whatever she had to say, it was big enough to terrify her. I'm pregnant with Kwame's baby, Ajoa whispered. And I'm not the only one. The words hit Amma like a physical blow, but she managed to keep her expression neutral. What do you mean not the only one? There are 3 of us. 3 pregnant women. And he's promised to marry all of us. Don't miss what happens next. This story is getting more shocking by the minute. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. The hotel lobby suddenly felt like it was spinning. 3 pregnant women. 3 promises of marriage. Amma gripped the edge of the table to steady herself as Ajoa continued speaking in her soft, frightened voice. I know this is shocking, Mrs. Osei. I didn't know about you until 2 months ago when I saw your wedding photo on his phone. By then, I was all ready. She gestured to her small but visible bump. Who are the others? Amma's voice sounded foreign to her own ears. Accra. She's a nurse at Korobu Hospital. She's 7 months pregnant. And Mame, she works at his office. She's due next month. Mame worked at Kwame's engineering firm. Amma had met her at company parties, had smiled and made small talk with the woman who was carrying her husband's child. The betrayal cut deeper than she'd thought possible. How do you know about each other? Ajoa pulled out her phone and showed Amma a WhatsApp group chat called Kwame's Girls. The last message, sent just 2 hours ago, was from Kwame himself. Meeting my investment partners tonight. We'll call you all later. Love you all equally. Love you all equally. As if they were shares in some twisted portfolio. He tells each of us we're special, that we're the one he really loves, Ajoa continued. He says he's going to divorce you and marry us, but the timing has to be right because of his business reputation. And you believed him? Tears started flowing down Ajoa's cheeks. I'm 22 years old. I've never had a serious relationship before. When a successful older man tells you he loves you and wants to give you the world, yes, I believed him. We all did. Amma studied the young woman across from her. Despite everything, she felt a surge of protective anger. Ajoa was barely more than a child, taken advantage of by a predator who specialized in exploiting women's dreams and vulnerabilities. Why are you telling me this? Because, yesterday, when I saw that video of him hitting you in public, I realized something. If he can humiliate his pregnant wife like that, what do you think he'll do to us when he's tired of playing games? Smart girl. Scared but smart. Also, Ajoa continued, reaching into her designer purse, I found these in his hotel room last week. She placed a stack of documents on the table. Amma's hands trembled as she read through them. Loan applications in all 4 women's names. Credit card applications. Insurance policies naming Kwame as the sole beneficiary. He's been using our information to take out loans and credit lines, Ajoa explained. Accra discovered it first when she got a call from a bank about a loan she never applied for. We think he owes money to some dangerous people. Dangerous people. Amma remembered the phone calls Kwame had been taking lately, always stepping outside or into another room. The way he'd been checking over his shoulder when they went out. His increasing obsession with money and control. How much money are we talking about? So far? Maybe 200,000 sadies. But Mrs. Osei, that's not the worst part. Amma couldn't imagine what could be worse than fraud, bigamy, and financial manipulation. He's been recording us. All of us. Intimate videos, private conversations. He has files on his laptop with our names on them. Blackmail material. Insurance policies to keep them quiet and compliant. Amma felt sick. I want to go to the police, Ajoa continued, but I'm scared. My parents don't know about the pregnancy. If these videos get out. Where are the other women now? Accra is working a night shift at the hospital. Mame is at home with her mother, afraid to leave the house since she found out about the loans. We're all terrified, but we don't know what to do. Amma's phone buzzed with a text from Kwame, still at the gym. Don't wait up. P.S. We need to talk about your attitude lately. This pregnancy is making you difficult. The casual cruelty of it, the absolute disregard for her humanity, crystallized something inside Amma. This wasn't just about her anymore. This was about 4 women and 4 innocent children who didn't deserve to have their lives destroyed by one man's greed and manipulation. Ajoa, I want you to listen to me carefully. We're going to stop him, but we have to be smart about it, and we have to work together. What do you mean? I mean we're going to use his own methods against him. Documentation, evidence, legal pressure. But first, we need to get those videos and files from his laptop. That's impossible. He never leaves it unattended. Amma smiled for the first time in days, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. Actually, it's not impossible. I know his schedule better than anyone. Tomorrow is Wednesday. He has a site visit in Tima that will keep him away from the office for at least 4 hours. But the laptop will be at his office, and Mame works there. She can't just. Mame won't have to do anything. I will. As Ajoa stared at her in confusion, Amma explained her plan. It was risky, possibly illegal, but it was their only chance to gather enough evidence to protect themselves and their children. Mrs. Osei, are you sure about this? If he catches you, then he catches me. But I'd rather fight than spend the rest of my life being afraid of my own husband. They parted ways with a plan to meet again tomorrow evening, after Amma had retrieved the laptop files. As she walked to her car, Amma felt something she hadn't experienced in months. Hope. But as she pulled out of the hotel parking lot, she noticed a familiar red Honda Accord following her at a distance. Kofi. How long had he been watching? How much did he know about her meeting with Ajoa? And more importantly, was he reporting back to Kwame? Share this with someone who loves drama. What do you think Amma should do next? Comment below, and don't forget to subscribe for the next shocking chapter. Amma drove through the winding streets of Accra, taking random turns and watching her rear-view mirror. Kofi's red Honda stayed with her through 3 unnecessary detours before finally disappearing near the Achimota Mall. Either he'd given up the surveillance, or he'd gotten what he needed. By the time she reached home, Kwame's car was already in their compound. So much for the gym and drinks. She found him in their bedroom, freshly showered, wearing the cologne she'd bought him for his birthday. The same cologne he probably wore to his hotel meetings with Ajoa, Accra, and Mame. You're home early, she said, keeping her voice neutral. Change of plans. Kofi had something important to discuss. He was watching her in the mirror as he adjusted his watch, a new Rolex she didn't remember seeing before. He said he saw you at the Golden Tulip Hotel today, having drinks with some young girl. So Kofi had seen the meeting and reported back immediately. Amma felt a chill run down her spine, but she kept her expression calm. I was meeting a potential client about some freelance work. Since I'm on forced maternity leave, I need to find other income sources. Freelance work. Kwame turned from the mirror, his eyes narrowing. I don't remember you mentioning any freelance opportunities. I don't remember needing your permission to earn money. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Kwame's expression darkened, and for a moment, Amma thought he might hit her again. Instead, he smiled, the same charming smile that had made her fall in love with him 4 years ago. Of course, you don't need my permission, darling. I'm just concerned about you taking on too much stress during the pregnancy. He moved closer, placing his hands on her shoulders. You know I only want what's best for you and our baby. Our baby. Singular. As if the other 3 children he'd fathered didn't exist. I know you do, she lied, leaning into his embrace and fighting the urge to recoil from his touch. I'm sorry if I seemed secretive. The pregnancy hormones are making me emotional. That's understandable. His hands moved to her belly, and she had to force herself not to flinch. Have you been taking your prenatal vitamins? Every day. Good. I picked up a new bottle today, a stronger formulation. The pharmacist said it would help with your mood swings. He produced a bottle from his jacket pocket. The label looked official, but something about his insistence made Amma uncomfortable. Why would he suddenly care about her vitamin intake? And why wouldn't he just add them to their regular shopping instead of making a special trip? Thank you, she said, taking the bottle. I'll start them tomorrow. That night, as Kwame slept beside her, Amma stared at the ceiling and planned her next move. Tomorrow's mission to his office would be dangerous, but she needed those files. Evidence of the fraud, the blackmail videos, the financial manipulation. It was all there on his laptop. But first, she needed to understand what was in those new vitamins. At 6 a.m., while Kwame was in the shower, Amma quietly took 2 of the pills from the bottle he'd given her. Instead of swallowing them, she wrapped them in tissue and hid them in her purse. Her friend Akojua had connections at a private lab. They could test the pills to see exactly what Kwame wanted her to consume. I'm heading to the Tima site early, Kwame announced over breakfast. Big inspection today. Might not be back until evening. Perfect. That gave her at least 6 hours to execute her plan. Drive safely, she said, kissing his cheek and tasting lies on her lips. After he left, Amma called in sick to her forced maternity leave, a bitter irony that almost made her laugh. Then she drove to Akojua's law office in the Ridge area of Accra. You look terrible, Akojua said by way of greeting, but determined. I like that better than defeated. Amma explained everything, the meeting with Ajoa, the discovery of multiple pregnancies, the fraud, the blackmail videos. Akojua listened with the focused intensity of a lawyer building a case. We need to be very careful here, Akojua warned. Breaking into his office, even if you're his wife, could be considered criminal trespass. But if we can prove fraud and obtain evidence of blackmail, the risk is worth it. Those women, we're all victims of the same predator. All right, but we do this properly. I'm coming with you, and we're going to document everything legally. Chain of custody, timestamps, witnesses. If this goes to court, the evidence needs to be admissible. Kwame's engineering firm occupied the 3rd floor of a modern office building in Airport City. Amma had been there dozens of times for company parties and spouse events. She knew the layout, the security procedures, and most importantly, she knew Mame. They found Mame at her desk, looking exhausted and frightened. At 7 months pregnant, she was clearly struggling with both the physical demands of her condition and the emotional weight of her situation. Mrs. Osei? Mame's eyes widened in shock and fear. What are you doing here? We need to talk, Mame. About Kwame. About what he's been doing to all of us. For a moment, it looked like Mame might deny everything. Then her facade crumbled, and she began to cry. I never meant for this to happen, she whispered. He said he was going to leave you, that you didn't understand him like I did. I was so stupid. You weren't stupid. You were manipulated by an expert. Amma sat down beside her. But now we have a chance to stop him, to protect ourselves and our children. Akojua explained their plan while keeping watch for other employees. The office was mostly empty, a stroke of luck that felt like divine intervention. His laptop is in his private office, Mame said, wiping her tears. But it's password protected. I know his passwords, Amma said grimly. He's not as clever as he thinks he is. Kwame's office was exactly as she remembered, diplomas on the wall, family photos, including their wedding picture, on his desk, and the laptop that contained evidence of his crimes sitting closed beside a stack of project files. The password was Amma Forever 2021, the year they'd gotten married. The irony was nauseating. As the laptop booted up, Amma's phone rang. Kwame. Don't answer it, Akojua warned. If he's suspicious and comes back early. But it was too late. The damage was done when the phone stopped ringing and immediately started again. I have to answer or he'll definitely know something's wrong, Amma said, accepting the call. Darling, I just realized I forgot some important documents in my office. I'm sending Kofi to pick them up. Make sure you're not out shopping or anything. I want you resting at home. Kofi was coming to the office. Now. Of course, baby. I'm home resting, just like you wanted. She hung up and looked at Akojua and Mame with panic in her eyes. How long do we have? Akojua asked. Maybe 20 minutes if traffic is good. 40 if it's bad. Then we work fast. The laptop contained folders labeled with each woman's name, just as Ajoa had described. Video files, photos, recorded phone conversations, copies of forged loan applications, and detailed notes about each woman's vulnerabilities and fears. But there was more. A 5th folder labeled insurance policy contained something that made Amma's blood run cold. Akojua, look at this. It was a life insurance policy on Amma, taken out just 3 months ago. The beneficiary was Kwame, and the amount was substantial. Enough to pay off all his debts with money left over to start fresh with whichever of his pregnant girlfriends he decided to keep. He's planning to kill me, Amma whispered. Before Akojua could respond, they heard the elevator ding in the hallway outside. Kofi was here. What happens next will leave you speechless. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This story is about to get even more intense. Quick, the back stairwell, Mame whispered, pointing toward a door Amma had never noticed before. It leads directly to the parking garage. Akojua was frantically copying files to a USB drive while Amma deleted the browser history and closed applications. They could hear Kofi's voice in the reception area, chatting with the security guard. Almost done, Akojua muttered. Just need 30 more seconds. Footsteps in the hallway. Getting closer. 20 seconds. The main office door opened. Mame, you're here early today, Kofi's voice carried from the reception area. 10 seconds. Yes, Mr. Kofi. Just catching up on some work, Mame called back, her voice surprisingly steady. Done. Akojua pocketed the USB drive, and they moved toward the back stairwell. But as they opened the door, Amma realized they'd made a crucial mistake. Kwame's laptop was still logged in, still showing the insurance folder on the screen. Go, she whispered to Akojua. I have to fix this. Amma, no. But she was already moving back toward the desk. She could hear Kofi's footsteps getting closer to Kwame's office. Her fingers flew over the keyboard, closing windows and returning the screen to its normal desktop appearance. Mame, have you seen anyone else in the office today? Kofi's voice was right outside the door now. No, sir. Just me. The office door handle turned. Amma dove under Kwame's desk just as Kofi entered the room. From her hiding spot, she could see his expensive shoes moving around the office. He went straight to the filing cabinet, not the desk, a small miracle. Her phone, which she'd silenced but forgotten to turn off completely, chose that moment to vibrate with a text message. The sound seemed deafeningly loud in the quiet office. Kofi's footsteps stopped. Hello? Is someone here? Amma held her breath, pressing herself as far back under the desk as possible. Through the gap between the desk and chair, she could see Kofi's feet moving closer. Then Mame appeared in the doorway. Mr. Kofi? Is everything all right? You look like you've seen a ghost. I thought I heard something. Oh, that was probably my phone. I dropped it earlier, and it's been acting up, making random noises. Mame's quick thinking was buying Amma precious seconds. Right. Well, I just need to grab these files, and I'll be out of your way. But instead of leaving immediately, Kofi walked over to Kwame's desk. Amma could see his hand reaching for the laptop. If he opened it and saw that it had been recently used. Mr. Kofi? Mame's voice was urgent now. I think there's something wrong with the printer in the main office. It's making terrible noises. Could you take a look? Can't it wait? I really need to. I'm afraid it might be a fire hazard. You know how Mr. Kwame feels about office safety. Reluctantly, Kofi left the laptop and followed Mame out of the office. The moment their footsteps faded, Amma crawled out from under the desk and bolted for the back stairwell. Akojua was waiting in the parking garage, pacing nervously beside her car. What took you so long? I was about to come back for you. Evidence, Amma panted, showing her the photos she'd quickly taken of the insurance policy with her phone. He's planning to kill me for the insurance money. They drove in tense silence to Akojua's office, both women processing the magnitude of what they discovered. Kwame wasn't just a cheater or a fraud. He was planning murder. We need to go to the police immediately, Akojua said once they were safely behind closed doors. With what? Copies of files we obtained illegally? Photos of insurance documents that could have innocent explanations. Amma, he has a life insurance policy on you worth $500,000 cedis, taken out right after you got pregnant. No innocent explanation covers that. But even as they argued about legal strategy, Amma's phone was ringing. Kwame again. Where are you? His voice was different now, harder, more suspicious. Kofi said he thought he heard someone in my office today. I'm at the hospital, she lied smoothly. Routine, prenatal appointment. I tried to call you, but your phone went straight to voicemail. Which hospital? The question was sharp, demanding. He was checking up on her story. Coralbu, Dr. Asante wanted to run some additional tests. She named the hospital where Accra, one of his other pregnant girlfriends, worked. If he called to verify, there would at least be a pregnant woman named Accra on staff. I'll meet you there. That's not necessary. I said I'll meet you there. Don't leave until I arrive. The line went dead, and Amma stared at her phone in growing panic. He's coming to the hospital. He's suspicious about something. Then we give him what he expects to find, Akojua said, already reaching for her car keys. We go to Koralbu, and we use this opportunity to meet with Accra in person. As they drove across the city, Amma couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. Kwame's behavior was escalating, his control mechanisms becoming more aggressive and obvious. But when they arrived at the hospital, they discovered they weren't the only ones who felt trapped. Accra was waiting in the maternity ward break room, looking exhausted and frightened. At 7 months pregnant, she was further along than any of them, and the stress was clearly taking its toll. "He knows," were the first words out of her mouth. "Somehow, Kwame knows that we've been talking to each other." "What do you mean?" "This morning, he showed up at my apartment with flowers and breakfast. He was charming, sweet, asking about the baby. But then he started asking questions about my day yesterday, about whether I talked to anyone new recently." Amma felt ice in her veins. "What did you tell him?" "I lied, of course. But then he showed me something on his phone. A photo of you and Ajoa at the hotel yesterday. Kofi had taken pictures. He'd been surveilling them more thoroughly than they'd realized." "There's more," Accra continued. "He gave me new prenatal vitamins too. Said they were specially formulated for high-risk pregnancies. When I asked my supervisor about them later, she said she'd never seen that brand before." The same vitamins he'd given Amma. They looked at each other with growing horror as the pieces clicked into place. "He's poisoning us," Amma whispered. Slowly, gradually, making it look like pregnancy complications. Before anyone could respond, Amma's phone buzzed with a text message. "I'm in the lobby. Come down now." And Amma? Come alone. He was here. And somehow, he knew she wasn't alone. Hit that subscribe button now, because this story is about to explode. What do you think is in those vitamins? Comment your theories below. The hospital lobby was crowded with the usual mix of patients, families, and medical staff, but Amma spotted Kwame immediately. He was standing near the information desk, checking his watch, and he wasn't alone. 2 men in dark suits flanked him, men she didn't recognize with the hard look of people accustomed to violence. "Mrs. Osei?" A gentle voice made her turn. It was a young nurse with kind eyes and a concerned expression. "Are you all right? You look pale." Amma realized she'd been standing frozen at the elevator bank, staring at her husband and his companions with obvious fear. "I'm fine, thank you." But she wasn't fine. Nothing about this situation was fine. Her phone buzzed. "I can see you by the elevators. Stop stalling and come here." As she walked across the lobby, Amma noticed other things that made her skin crawl. Kofi was seated in the waiting area, pretending to read a magazine, but clearly watching everyone who entered or left the hospital. A third man, younger, wearing scrubs like hospital staff but with the wrong shoes for medical work, was positioned near the emergency exit. They had surrounded her. "Darling." Kwame's voice was loud and cheerful as she approached, but his eyes were cold as winter. "How did your appointment go?" "Fine. Everything looks normal." "Good, good. These are some business associates of mine, Mr. Osei and Mr. Asante." The men nodded, but didn't speak. They were curious to meet the woman who's been causing me so much concern lately. The threat was barely veiled. These weren't business associates. They were enforcers, probably the dangerous people Ajoa had mentioned. The ones Kwame owed money to. "I'm not sure what you mean." "Don't you?" Kwame stepped closer, and she could smell that expensive cologne mixed with something else, fierce sweat. He was scared too, which somehow made him more dangerous. "My friend Kofi has been telling me interesting stories about your activities yesterday. Hotel meetings, mysterious phone calls, visiting offices you have no business being in." "I don't know what." "Stop." His voice cut through her denial like a blade. "Just stop lying to me, Amma. It's insulting to both our intelligence." One of the men in suits moved slightly, positioning himself to block her path back to the elevators. Patients and families continued moving around them, oblivious to the menace radiating from their small group. "Let's take a walk," Kwame said, placing his hand on her arm with a grip that looked affectionate but felt like a vice. I want to show you something. They moved toward a less crowded corridor that led to the hospital's administrative offices. The men in suits followed at a discreet distance, while Kofi remained in the lobby, probably to intercept Akojua if she came looking for Amma. "You found my files," Kwame said once they were alone in the corridor. It wasn't a question. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Amma, please. I know you were in my office today. I know you accessed my computer. I know you've been talking to Ajoa, and probably Akua and Mame too. How could he know all of that? Unless you've been monitoring us. All of us." "Of course I have. GPS trackers in your cars, spyware on your phones, cameras in the hotel rooms. Did you really think I'd leave something this important to chance?" The casual admission of surveillance and violation made Amma's stomach lurch. "You're sick. I'm practical. I have investments to protect, debts to manage, futures to secure. For women, for children, multiple revenue streams. It requires careful coordination." Revenue streams. He was talking about human beings like they were business assets. The insurance policies. "Ah, you saw those." Kwame smiled, and it was the most terrifying expression she'd ever seen on his face. "I was wondering when you'd piece that together. You always were the smartest of my girls. You're planning to kill us." "Kill you?" "Amma, that's such an ugly word. I prefer to think of it as strategic downsizing. The vitamins I've been giving you will cause gradual organ failure that mimics natural pregnancy complications. Very sad, very tragic, but completely believable, especially with your recent stress and that unfortunate public incident." The public slapping. He'd planned that too, creating a medical record of stress and trauma that would support a narrative of pregnancy complications. "You won't get away with this." "Actually, I will. Because you're going to help me." "Never." Kwame pulled out his phone and showed her a video. It was security footage from his office building, clearly showing Amma and Akojua breaking into his office and accessing his computer. Breaking and entering. Corporate espionage. Theft of confidential business documents. That's serious prison time, Amma. Especially for a pregnant woman who might not survive the stress of incarceration. "You bastard. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go home, take your vitamins like a good wife, and keep your mouth shut about everything you think you've discovered. In return, I won't press charges against you or your lawyer friend. Your death will be quick and relatively painless, and your child will be raised with all the advantages my money can provide. And if I refuse, then things become very unpleasant very quickly. Not just for you, but for your mother, your friend Akojua, and especially for Ajoa, Akua, and Mame. My business associates here are very good at making problems disappear permanently." The men in suits had moved closer during their conversation. One of them was now standing directly behind Amma, close enough that she could feel his presence like a shadow. "You have 24 hours to decide," Kwame continued. "Tomorrow evening, I want to see you taking your vitamins in front of me. If you do that, everyone stays safe. If you don't," he didn't need to finish the threat. The implication was clear enough. "There is one other option," he added, almost as an afterthought. "You could choose to cooperate fully. Help me manage the other girls, keep them calm and compliant. In return, you get to live, and you get to raise all 4 children as part of one big happy family." The suggestion was so twisted, so fundamentally wrong, that Amma almost laughed. "Almost. You want me to help you murder 3 innocent women so I can raise their orphan children. I want you to be practical about your situation. You're outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and out of options. But you're still valuable to me alive if you're willing to be reasonable." Amma looked at her husband, really looked at him, and saw a stranger. How had she missed the signs? How had she loved someone capable of this level of calculated evil? "I need time to think." "Of course you do. 24 hours, remember. Use them wisely." As they walked back toward the main lobby, Amma's mind was racing. She had less than a day to find a way to save 4 women and 4 children from a monster who had planned every detail of their destruction. But she wasn't completely helpless. She had allies, evidence, and resources he didn't know about. Most importantly, she had something he'd underestimated: the fury of a woman with nothing left to lose. The real war was just beginning. This is getting insane. What would you do in Amma's situation? Comment below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You won't believe what happens next. 23 hours and counting. Amma sat in her mother's kitchen at 3 a.m., surrounded by the evidence they'd gathered. Printed files from Kwame's laptop, photos of the insurance documents, the bottle of suspicious vitamins, and testimonies from all 3 pregnant women. Akojua was on her phone with contacts in the police force, trying to find someone trustworthy enough to handle a case this explosive. The problem is corruption, Akojua explained after ending another frustrating call. Half the officers I've spoken to either know Kwame personally or have business relationships with him. The other half don't want to touch a case involving domestic betrayal and financial fraud against a prominent businessman. What about the insurance fraud? The attempted murder? Amma's mother asked. She'd been surprisingly calm when they'd explained everything, as if she'd been preparing for this revelation for years. Hard to prove intent without a body or a clear attempt. The vitamins turned out to be a cocktail of substances that could cause miscarriage and organ damage. But a good lawyer could argue they were mislabeled supplements rather than intentional poison. Amma stared at the test results from the private lab. The vitamins contained high levels of lead, mercury, and several plant-based toxins that would gradually accumulate in the bloodstream. Death would look like natural complications from a high-risk pregnancy. So we have evidence of fraud, bigamy, blackmail, and attempted murder, but no one in authority willing to act on it. Not no one, Akojua said carefully. I have one contact who might help. Inspector Sarah Ofosu. She heads up a special unit that deals with crimes against women and children. But she'll need something more dramatic than paperwork to justify immediate action. Something dramatic, like what? Like catching him in the act, or getting him to confess on record. Amma's phone buzzed with a message from Kwame. Hope you slept well, darling. Looking forward to our vitamins ceremony tonight. 8 p.m. sharp. Don't disappoint me. Vitamins ceremony. The casual sadism of it was breathtaking. I have an idea, Amma said slowly. But it's dangerous, and it requires perfect timing. She outlined her plan while her mother and Akojua listened with growing alarm. Absolutely not, Akojua said immediately. You'd be putting yourself and your baby at enormous risk. We're already at enormous risk. All of us. If we don't act tonight, by tomorrow morning, Kwame will know we've involved the police, and his response will be swift and permanent. There has to be another way. What other way? We've tried legal channels. They're compromised. We've tried gathering evidence. It's not enough. We've tried reasoning with him. He's psychotic. The only thing left is to beat him at his own game. By 6 p.m., everything was in place. Inspector Ofosu had agreed to position her team around Amma's compound, but they wouldn't move until they had clear evidence of criminal intent. Ajoa, Akua, and Mame were safely hidden in a police safehouse, their phones confiscated to prevent Kwame from tracking them. Amma's mother was stationed at Akojua's office with copies of all evidence, ready to take everything public if the plan failed. And Amma was at home, waiting for her husband to arrive for their vitamin ceremony. At exactly 8 p.m., Kwame's car pulled into their compound. But he wasn't alone. Kofi was with him, along with the same 2 men in suits from a hospital. Insurance, Amma whispered into the tiny microphone hidden in her jewelry. Inspector Ofosu and her team could hear everything, but they needed Kwame to explicitly threaten her or admit to his crimes before they could act. Kwame entered their house with the confidence of a man who believed he'd won. He was carrying a bottle of wine and wearing his most charming smile. "My beautiful wife," he said, kissing her cheek. "Are you ready for our special evening?" "As ready as I'll ever be." He set the wine on their dining table next to the bottle of poison vitamins. Kofi and the suited men positioned themselves around the room like guards at an execution. "Before we begin," Kwame said, pouring 2 glasses of wine, "I want you to know that I do love you, Amma. You've been the most challenging of my investments, but also the most rewarding." Investments. He couldn't help himself. Even now, he had to reduce her to a financial instrument. "I'm curious about something," Amma said. accepting the wine glass but not drinking. How long have you been planning this? The multiple pregnancies, the insurance policies, the systematic elimination of witnesses. Kwame's smile widened. You want to understand the full scope of my operation? How flattering. He settled into his favorite chair, clearly enjoying his moment of triumph. It started about 2 years ago when my construction business began failing. Bad investments, corrupt partners, delayed payments from government contracts, the usual problems. So you decided to solve your financial problems by farming women like livestock. Such ugly language. I prefer to think of it as diversified relationship management. For intelligent, beautiful women, each with their own earning, potential, and social connections. For children who could potentially inherit from their mothers' families. Insurance policies, loan applications using their credit, access to their professional networks. He was confessing everything, describing his crimes in detail while sipping wine like he was discussing the weather. And when you'd extracted everything useful from us, you'd simply dispose of us only if necessary. A Joa, for instance, comes from a wealthy family. If I handle her death properly, tragic pregnancy complications, grieving almost husband seeking comfort, I could marry into her family's import business within a year. What about our children? Valuable assets. Raised properly, educated well, they'd have no reason to question their father's version of how their mothers died. In fact, they'd be grateful for my sacrifice in raising them alone. The casual monstrosity of it was exactly what Inspector Ofosu needed to hear. Through the window, Amma could see shadows moving in their compound, the police team getting into position. There's just one problem with your plan, Amma said, reaching for the bottle of vitamins. Oh, what's that? I'm not taking these. She threw the bottle across the room, where it shattered against the wall, scattering poisoned pills across their floor. Kwame's expression didn't change, but Kofi and the suited men immediately moved closer to her. That was unwise, Amma. I gave you a choice. You gave me an illusion of choice. But I know who I am, Kwame. I'm a Mensa woman. We don't break, we don't surrender, and we sure as hell don't let predators destroy our families without a fight. How poetic. Kill her, he said to the men as casually as ordering dinner. The front door exploded inward as Inspector Ofosu and her tactical team stormed the house. Police. Nobody move. What followed was chaos, shouts, struggles, the sound of furniture breaking as Kofi and the suited men tried to resist arrest.